we go.
Haley, how you doing?
Hi, good to see you again. I
Good
love
to
the
see you.
background. It's making me very happy.
What?
I love the background. It's making me very happy.
Oh, I know. But yeah, what can I say? I love it too. That's why I use it so often.
Oh, hi, Mike. Thank you so much for joining us today and
Thanks, Taylor.
really to talk about this with me. I'm super excited. You've been conscientious of climate change since your childhood. You started during the Bike to School event that took place on the first Earth Day ever in 1970. What changed your perspective on that initial Earth Day that led you to advocating for the climate 52 years later?
I think it just kind of crystallized some things that I had been thinking of. I had, like late in college, actually after I graduated from college, a couple of friends took me backpacking in Yosemite for the first time. And I was just kind of awestruck by the beauty of that place. And I always read a lot. And so I had been reading about climate change. Wasn't really understood at that point, but the other things of, pollution and resource loss and so forth was, and Earth Day kind of crystallized my understanding of that. And so I always tried to live sort of a sustainable life. I always enjoyed riding my bike more than I enjoyed driving a car. So there were things that were easy for me. But then when I retired from teaching, I had done some teacher politics, some teacher union work, and I thought, well, I want to do some political action. I got the time to do it. And I thought the most important issue at that time, 17 years ago, was climate change. So I went to a Sierra Club training session just to see what they recommended. I thought, okay, I'm ready to put some time in here. And at that point, their whole emphasis of the local Sierra Club, anyway, that serves San Mateo, Santa Clara County, was get your city on board, because federal level nothing was happening. And so the idea was to get cities to pass climate action plans and to take local action. And so I got involved that way. And it was kind of a mixed bag at first, because they wanted us, the mission that they gave me was go to Burlingame, get a climate action team together. They gave me a mailing list of all the Sierra Club members in town. And so I reached out and I had a couple of meetings, but it didn't really go very far. We didn't, I was not a charismatic type leader, who could kind of rally these people. But as I went to Burlingame City Council meetings, I found that the mayor was on exactly the same direction as I was. She was just welcoming the support. I didn't have to convince her of anything. And so she put me on a city committee, a staff and citizen committee, to work on a city's plan. And that just kind of led me into local things. After the city put together a climate action plan, that committee disbanded, and we started a local volunteer organization, the Citizens Environmental Council. So I volunteered for that. And I didn't take a leadership role. I was on the team. I would participate in the activities where I felt I was valuable. And after about 5 or 6 years, I kind of took a turn as being the chair of the group, and I kind of grew in that position. So I've been doing that ever since now. I'm going to become very comfortable with it. So it's just, it's just kind of like, I just kind of, found a place to contribute, and I stuck with it, and I found some things that sort of matched my skills. Oh, and I would say also the irony of this is I went in, as a retired teacher, I went in planning to do political action. And that was the whole emphasis the first several years I was doing this. And then the CEC, over a period of time while I was involved, we started a high school scholarship program. We started a student film festival. And we started what we called an environmental intern program, which basically was the forerunner of the YCA. You know, Andrea kind of took an inspiration from, hey, I want to do this thing countywide. And then she and Office of Sustainability, you know, they brought a lot more expertise and a lot more funding to the program, and they grew it beyond any ambition I ever had. But it is strange to me that I went in to do political action and ended up doing education back in my old neighborhood, I guess.
That is so interesting. Wow. Oh my gosh. That's crazy how it just crystallized and you've, yeah, just been building ever since. Thank you so much for sharing. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. Moving on. I and many other youth climate activists struggle to reach out to adults who have a fixated, negative, pessimistic attitude towards climate activism. As someone who has been as passionate about sustainability for as long as you have, what would you say to old individuals of an older generation who are reluctant to consider changing their lifestyles for the sake of the planet?
I have to admit that that's not a strength for me. You know, I try to be an example to my friends, but you know, actually most of my friends are kind of sympathetic to the same causes I am. And I don't often make presentations to negative audiences. And I think, you know, I think, you know, my approach is to make the best with the people who are already kind of sympathetic to the cause, you know, show them the way to do more and to be examples. And, you know, I went to speak at one Rotary Club once, but, you know, some luncheon thing where another CEC member and I had an invite to try to explain some things. And I ran into a climate denier there. And, you know, frankly, I didn't have easy answers for him. I think people have a certain mindset. And so I think you just, you know, you have to live your life as an example and drop hints, you know, to people who don't seem to share your opinion, and you kind of, you know, rally the people who are sympathetic to your cause and to the world situation.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes it's better to work with, or it's more effective to work with people who are actually motivated or opening to listen. If you have an open heart, open ears, open mind, they're more likely to make change than someone who's very stubborn. So what an interesting approach. I really like that answer. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
You know, like just one small story is, you know, CEC, you know, we table at the local farmers market once a month. And, you know, one week a woman came up and we started talking, and we kind of recognized each other. It took me a while to figure it out. But after I retired, I was tutoring math a lot, and I tutored her daughter for a while. So we started chatting, and she said, well, you know, I've been thinking about putting solar on my home, but I really don't know how to do it. And I clued her into a program that the city was supporting, where they had like, you know, they had vetted a bunch of solar installers, and they had negotiated a group package price. And so I gave her the contact information. I said, look, you know, these are 3 responsible companies. They'll come to your home. They'll make an offer. You pick one. And, you know, she came by like about 5 or 6 months later to say hi. And she said, hey, I did it. I got solar on my roof now, you know. And so that felt like an accomplishment. You know, that's worth a couple of dull days when nobody talks to me, you know, that, okay, here's one person who was leaning in the right direction, and we were able to get her moving on it.
Nice. Oh my gosh. That's so cool. I love it when you can see the impact of someone and give them in a direction, give them a little push, and then see what they become and have a before and after. That's lovely to know that you influenced. Yeah. And that they were open to change. What an interesting story. Thank you so much. Okay. As someone with great experience in climate activism, what advice would you give to someone who is new or exploring climate activism?
Let me make a suggestion, like specifically to the people in your YCA alumni group, is you guys in the next year or two will be heading off to college, and every college has a college environmental group or several, and I would say, part of going to college is meeting new friends, getting into a new network, and I would say seek out those groups, and check them out, get involved, make yourself available, because you may find something that fits your skills. Another nice thing about this movement is they tend to be a really nice group of people. The people I've met, working on environmental issues, whether they're volunteers or whether they're like professionals, like most of the YCA staff. They're really nice people with nice motivations and stuff. You don't find a lot of ego trippers and stuff like that. And so find a group like that when you get to college, and you can link up to some things that are already happening. And maybe there are a couple of groups, you find the one that kind of suits your most immediate interests. But just make yourself available and watch for opportunities.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you so much. I will take that to heart.
Okay.
Okay, great. What do you love about the planet, or what do you find fascinating about Earth?
It's just such a varied and beautiful place. I didn't really appreciate it probably until, like I say, right after I graduated from college. I did my first backpacking trips through Yosemite, and it was just awesome. And shortly after I got married, my wife and I had got an old van. We drove across the country and back, and we just saw a lot of different places. And there's still a lot of beauty on this planet that we need to protect. It is disappearing, but there's still a lot of it. And it's the only home we've got. That's the main thing.
Yep. Nicely stated. I wholeheartedly agree. I remember, my family and I go to national parks every so often. And when I first got really into the environment was through my parents and their love of national parks and hiking. And I remember my parents telling me about stories of me picking up every stick on the trail or pointing out every tree and being like, look how amazing this is. And it stuck. So definitely. And for our final question, as I previously mentioned, you've supported environmental movements for an impressive amount of time. When tackling climate change, it is easy to feel some hopelessness or to fall victim to climate anxiety. Have you ever had these moments? What inspires you to continue protecting the earth despite challenges? How would you recommend others to stay motivated?
I've read from other people, and I really believe this is true, that whatever your issue, whether it's social justice or Black Lives Matters or poverty or hunger or climate change, you feel less despair if you're actually working on the issue. If you're actually productive, especially working with other people to address the issue, it gives you hope, or at least you can take some satisfaction. Like the place I'm at with climate change now is, I know with all the carbon that's already in our atmosphere and that will still go into the atmosphere before we get things turned around, things are going to get worse before they get better. All the stuff we see on the news, we aren't going to, the floods, the droughts, the sea level rise, those aren't going to change in the next 3 or 4 years, and maybe not in my lifetime. But for me, at least, I want, my daughter to be able to tell her children, well, Grandpa, he was working on that at least, there's some ugly stuff out there, but Papa, he was trying to do something about it, and we're trying to do something about it. And I think, that's all you can do. You can think that you are, you're a steward of the planet and of the future. And if you're making your contribution, then that'll overcome some of the despair you might see about the stuff that's happening right now.
Oh my goodness, that was incredibly stated. I am.
Well, thank you.
What? Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so happy that we ended with that one, because that was a beautiful way to end off.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. I remember, previously, I think I mentioned this on the final day of YCA, but previously to joining, I was so concerned and hopeless. And I was just like, this is such a big issue. How am I supposed to do anything about this? Mm-hmm. And then once you're working with other people and you're actually making an effort and contributing to something that's making you feel that sort of despair, it ends up really helping. So
mm-hmm.
Beautifully stated. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, I'm just happy, to see you and your cohort, working on these things, early, when I was in high school, there were students who maybe put in a lot of work, but they were putting in a lot of work, to make a great senior prom, or to be a great football team. And never on any kind of political action, and also in my early years teaching. And so that has been, a big change actually since I retired from teaching. We had occasional, we have an environmental club on campus, maybe that weren't doing a lot, but high school kids are a lot more involved in these things now than they were 10, 15, 20 years ago. And so that gives me great hope.
So once again, thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Haley. Good talking to you.
Good talking to you. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay. Bye.